Awakening made you tired of people. Carl Jung says it's a sign of this deeper shift. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Carl Jung. Have you ever felt like your spiritual awakening is making you withdraw from people not out of pride, but out of something deeper shifting inside you? You're not alone. In today's episode on spiritual wisdom, we'll explore why feeling tired of people might actually be a sign of profound inner transformation. Carl Jung called this the beginning of individuation, the sacred journey of returning to your authentic self. If you've ever felt disconnected from shallow conversations or drained by old environments, this message is for you. Drop a comment below. Have you experienced this shift? Let's grow together by sharing our insights and supporting each other on this awakening path. 1. Awakening changes your frequency and creates emotional distance. Spiritual awakening shifts something deep within you, not just your thoughts or beliefs, but your entire energetic frequency. Suddenly, the world feels different. What once felt familiar now feels foreign. Conversations that used to bring comfort now feel repetitive and draining. You try to engage, to stay present, but your body tightens and your spirit resists. It's not that you're judging anyone. It's not that you think you're above them, but you can't deny that something has changed. You're no longer aligned with the emotional wavelength you once shared with others, and this creates an invisible yet undeniable distance. The people around you haven't necessarily changed, but you have. The shift is subtle yet seismic. You no longer find satisfaction in gossip, complaints, or small talk. It feels like noise, like static. Your soul craves depth, meaning, truth. You begin to notice how often people speak without really saying anything. You listen, but the words pass through you. There's no resonance, no spark, no nourishment. You're not being cold or closed off. You're simply attuning to a different frequency, one that values inner presence over outer performance. This emotional distance isn't a flaw or a phase. It's part of the process. A natural byproduct of awakening is detachment from the familiar, from the roles you used to play, from the relationships that once defined you. You're not pushing people away. You're being pulled inward. Your energy is calling you home to yourself. And in that return, there's an inevitable solitude. The noise quiets, the room empties, and for a while, it might feel like a loss. But what you're actually experiencing is alignment. Carl Jung wrote, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important." When you awaken, your priorities change. Your emotional language deepens, and not everyone speaks it. That's what creates the ache. The realization that most of the world is still operating on autopilot, while you've begun to question everything. You see through illusions. You feel the weight behind the words. You sense what's not being said. And you can't go back to pretending it doesn't matter. You start to notice who drains you and who nourishes you, who listens just to respond, and who listens to understand, who mirrors your old self, and who reflects the version you're becoming. The space between those two selves, the old you and the emerging you, feels like a void. But it's not emptiness. It's sacred space. It's the cocoon between identities, the stillness before transformation. And even though it's uncomfortable, it's necessary. Your spirit is recalibrating. Your nervous system is learning peace. Your boundaries are becoming clearer. You no longer tolerate chaos masked as connection. You no longer chase validation in places that never truly saw you. This isn't bitterness, it's clarity. This isn't detachment, it's discernment. You're not isolating yourself, you're protecting your frequency. You're making room for new connections that match your depth, your values, your truth. Let the silence stretch. Let the loneliness teach you. Let the disconnection refine you. Because you're not breaking down, you're breaking through. And on the other side of this shift, you will find people who feel like home. You will speak, and you'll be heard. You will feel, and you'll be met. Until then, trust the distance. It's not a punishment. It's a sign you're awakening. Have you ever noticed your relationship shifting after a spiritual awakening? If so, share your experience in the comments. Your story might help someone feel less alone. And if you're still navigating that emotional distance, comment below. I'm learning to honor my new frequency, to affirm your journey. Let's grow together in this space of truth and transformation. 2. Carl Jung's concept of individuation explains the loneliness. Carl Jung called it individuation, the sacred process of becoming who you truly are by shedding who you were told to be. And it doesn't feel like a celebration. It feels like being stripped bare. As the layers of the false self begin to dissolve, the roles, masks, performances you wore to survive, everything tied to that false self starts to crumble too. You feel it in your relationships first. The people who once made you feel safe now drain you. Conversations that once comforted you now feel unbearably empty. You're not judging anyone. You're simply no longer willing to abandon yourself to belong. This is what no one prepares you for, the grief of spiritual awakening. It's not just about gaining insight. It's about losing identities, dynamics, and emotional patterns that kept you tethered to an old version of you. You sit in rooms full of people and feel like a ghost. You smile out of habit, but your soul is elsewhere, seeking meaning, craving truth, starving for depth. What you once tolerated now triggers discomfort. What you once ignored now screams for your attention. And in that quiet unraveling, spiritual wisdom begins to whisper. This pain is proof you are waking up. When you awaken, your energy changes. You stop resonating with the frequency of small talk, gossip, approval seeking, and emotional performance. You no longer feel at home in environments that thrive on disconnection and distraction. And so you retreat. You withdraw, not because you hate people, but because your spirit is tired of noise. You're learning to protect your peace. You're learning that being alone is not loneliness, it's recalibration. As your nervous system detoxes from years of overstimulation, your body demands stillness. Your soul demands truth. And in that space, you start to remember who you are without the noise. Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But that privilege comes with a cost, the death of who you're not. Awakening is not glamorous. It's raw. It strips you down and asks, what is real? And most of what you thought was real, the friendships based on fear, the love built on codependency, the laughter masking pain dissolves under the light of your new awareness. You mourn not just people, but versions of yourself. You grieve for the years you spent asleep, performing, pretending. And yet, in that grief, there's beauty, because every tear carves space for a more authentic life. Spiritual wisdom teaches you to hold that paradox. You feel more whole than ever, yet more isolated. You see clearer than ever, yet feel misunderstood. But the ache you carry is not emptiness, it's expansion. Your soul is making room for alignment. You're being called to relationships that nourish you, not drain you. To conversations that heal, not distract. To have a presence that feels like home, not performance. And slowly, your loneliness becomes solitude. Your silence becomes a sanctuary. And your awakening, though heavy, becomes the most honest thing you've ever known. Comment below. I choose authenticity. If you're ready to embrace your individuation journey and let go of who you were told to be. 3. The real drain is not people. It's pretending to be someone you're not. You're not tired because people are toxic. You're tired because your soul is done performing. You've worn masks for so long, smiling when you didn't feel like it, nodding along to stay polite, laughing at jokes that didn't land in your heart. It's not that the world changed overnight. It's that you've stopped abandoning yourself just to belong. The real drain isn't the noise around you. It's the silence inside you every time you betray your truth to maintain the peace. Carl Jung once said that individuation, the journey toward becoming your most authentic self, demands the breakdown of who you thought you had to be. This shift isn't comfortable. In fact, it's painfully disruptive. You feel it in your chest when a friend calls to gossip and your body tightens. You feel it in your throat when someone asks how you are and you want to tell the truth, but smile instead. The tiredness comes not from them, but from you pretending everything still fits when it doesn't. You don't need less connection. You need less pretending. The nervous system, trained for years to seek safety and approval, now fights against your evolution. It pulls you back into old roles. The agreeable one, the fixer, the strong one who never complains. But now, each time you step into those roles, something inside you winces. It's because your spirit has already moved on, even if your habits haven't caught up. There's nothing wrong with you for needing space. There's nothing wrong with you for canceling plans, for choosing solitude over small talk, for saying no without explanation. That's not selfish. It's sacred. You're creating room for your real self to breathe. And yes, it will confuse people. They've grown attached to the version of you that performed well, stayed quiet, and showed up no matter what it cost. But you've paid those costs with your peace, and your spirit is tired of the debt. This shift will feel lonely at first, but that loneliness isn't emptiness, it's clarity. You're not withdrawing because you hate people. You're pausing because you love yourself enough to stop leaking energy into situations that no longer align. You're not distancing to punish others. You're reclaiming the parts of you that have been buried beneath years of expectations, roles, and emotional labor. Carl Jung reminds us that the deeper you go into your own unconscious, the more you begin to live in alignment with your true nature. And as you shed what's false, you also shed the crowds that were drawn to the performance, not the person. What's left isn't emptiness, it's freedom. It's the beginning of genuine connection, rooted in truth, not in survival. You're not tired of people. You're tired of pretending. And that distinction changes everything. If this message speaks to your soul, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever felt drained, not by people, but by the pressure to be someone you're not? Let's talk about it below and continue uncovering what it really means to live in your truth. 4. Shadow work deepens self-awareness and sensitivity. Shadow work is not just some abstract idea tossed around in spiritual circles. It's the very essence of what happens when a spiritual awakening starts to unfold. As your inner world begins to expand, you don't just discover more light, you become aware of the darkness you've been hiding from. The shadow is made of all the parts of yourself you were taught to reject. Your anger, your fears, your shame, your unmet needs. And suddenly, you can't keep them buried anymore. Carl Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." And that's exactly what's happening. You're waking up to everything you've avoided. You begin to notice how emotionally charged every interaction becomes. It's like you can feel through people's words, piercing beneath their surface to the pain they're not saying aloud. You sit with someone, and while they smile, you feel their anxiety. While they laugh, you sense their sadness. While they complain, you pick up on their hidden longing. You're no longer just hearing voices, you're reading energy, soaking up unspoken truths. This sensitivity isn't a weakness. It's the side effect of becoming deeply self-aware. Because as you start recognizing the masks you once wore, you begin recognizing them in others too. But this level of awareness comes with a cost. You start to feel overstimulated in places you used to enjoy. The party feels too loud. The office gossip feels toxic. Conversations feel like they're draining your soul because they no longer resonate with your spirit. What once felt normal now feels artificial, forced, and flat. This isn't social anxiety, it's soul misalignment. You've outgrown shallow waters, and your spirit is calling you into the deep. The problem is, not everyone wants to dive with you, and that's where the loneliness begins. You might find yourself walking away from friendships that once defined you, not because you're better than anyone, but because your nervous system now demands peace, not performance. You begin prioritizing solitude, stillness, and truth over noise, chaos, and pretense. You'd rather be alone than shrink yourself to stay connected. This is shadow integration. You're no longer externalizing your discomfort. You're meeting it inside yourself. You see your triggers. You face your wounds. You stop blaming and start healing. And while this journey can feel isolating, it also births immense compassion. Because when you realize that most people are wearing emotional armor, not to deceive you, but to survive, you soften. You no longer take things so personally. You see pain underneath pride, trauma beneath anger, fear behind control. And suddenly, even the most difficult people become mirrors, reflecting what you've conquered and what you still need to embrace. This phase of spiritual awakening isn't always pretty. It's not about light and love all the time. It's about facing your darkness without flinching. It's about becoming so honest with yourself that dishonesty in others becomes unbearable. And the more you evolve, the more you crave authenticity like oxygen. Your nervous system stops tolerating anything fake. And that's not weakness, that's transformation. Do you feel your sensitivity growing as your self-awareness deepens? Shadow work is not weakness, it's courage. If you recognize this transformation within yourself, affirm it in the comments below. I embrace my shadow and grow in truth. 5. You begin attracting more authentic, energetically aligned relationships. As you begin to heal, something deep within you shifts. You no longer crave attention from the wrong people. You stop trying to impress, entertain, or prove yourself. Without realizing it, your energy becomes clearer, more honest, and that honesty begins to speak louder than words. Suddenly, you find yourself uninterested in shallow conversations and emotionally unavailable people. You begin to crave something real, something that speaks to your soul, not your wounds. This is a sacred moment in your spiritual awakening, the moment your energy starts filtering out anything that was only meant to feed your survival patterns. You're no longer running on the need to belong at any cost. You're remembering who you are without the masks. But this shift doesn't come without discomfort. When you stop performing, some people will leave. Not because you've changed too much, but because the relationship was never built on truth. It was built on your performance. As that performance drops, so does the illusion of closeness. This is where solitude steps in, not as a punishment, but as preparation. The silence isn't empty, it's sacred. It's where your intuition becomes louder than your fear. It's where you learn the difference between being alone and being aligned. Carl Jung once said, "Loneliness does not come from being alone, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important." You're not lonely. You're just no longer interested in communicating in a language that betrays your soul. During this sacred solitude, your energy field recalibrates. You're no longer broadcasting the frequency of fear, approval-seeking, or insecurity. You're radiating something much more powerful, wholeness. And wholeness doesn't beg, it attracts. You begin to notice that some people no longer text you back. Some invitations stop coming. And even though your mind may panic, your soul knows this is the clearing before the blessing. It's the pruning of old energies so that something more aligned can take root. And what comes next is not louder, but deeper. Real connection, real recognition, real resonance. The people who begin to appear feel different. Their presence is calming. Their words don't drain you. They restore you. You no longer feel like you have to shrink or edit yourself to be understood. These new relationships don't demand performance. They welcome presence. You feel safe, not because they complete you, but because they reflect the completeness you've discovered within. This is spiritual wisdom in motion, the unfolding of relationships that reflect your healed state, not your wounded self. Let this process take its time. Let the empty spaces stretch. Don't fill the void with noise. Don't run back to what hurt you just because it's familiar. Trust that your frequency is doing the work for you now. You're not just attracting people anymore, you're attracting reflections. And the clearer you become, the clearer they'll be. This isn't loneliness. This is alignment. This isn't a loss. This is liberation. And this isn't the end of connection. It's the beginning of something real, something sacred, something your soul has been waiting for your entire life. If this message speaks to your soul, take a deep breath and declare it now. I am ready for aligned, soul-nourishing connections. I trust what is meant for me will find me. 6. Your nervous system is evolving alongside your consciousness. Awakening isn't just something that happens in your mind. It's not just about new thoughts or spiritual beliefs. It runs deeper than that into your nervous system, your physical body, and your energetic field. As your consciousness rises, your body begins to respond. you start to notice how certain environments make you tense, how your heart races in rooms filled with noise or surface-level chatter, and how exhausted you feel after even small conversations. This is not a weakness or social anxiety. This is your nervous system evolving to meet the sensitivity of your expanding awareness. Carl Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." And that pain often manifests physically before your mind can make sense of it. Your system is becoming more attuned to energy, to frequency, to authenticity. What once felt normal, gossip, chaos, meaningless busyness, now feels unbearable. Not because you're superior or judgmental, but because you're no longer aligned with it. The people and places that don't match your new vibration feel heavy. You're not becoming distant, you're becoming precise. This shift in sensitivity can be confusing at first. It often feels like loneliness, like you're pulling away from everything you once knew. But in reality, your body is trying to protect you from overstimulation as it learns to operate in a higher state of consciousness. Your nervous system is shedding years, maybe even decades, of noise and conditioning. And just like muscles, after a workout, it needs time to rest and adjust. There's a woman named Elena who used to be deeply social, always surrounded by people. After a retreat that awakened something within her, she came back home and felt like a stranger in her own life. Her usual routines exhausted her. Her friends' conversations felt shallow. She tried to force herself to engage like she used to, but her body resisted. Eventually, she stopped resisting too. She started honoring her new rhythm. And in that silence, she found herself again. Carl Jung's teachings on individuation remind us that becoming whole means breaking away from what is false. And sometimes, what is false isn't just a mask we wear. It's the energy we've tolerated. It's the relationships we've outgrown. It's the noise we once called normal. So when your nervous system begins to reject what you used to accept, it's not regression. It's refinement. It's your soul making space for truth. Your sensitivity is not a flaw. It's a compass. It tells you when something feels off, even if you can't explain it. It guides you away from the loud and shallow, toward the deep and real. And as you keep honoring that truth, even when it makes you tired, even when it makes you lonely, you're building a kind of strength that the world rarely sees: energetic integrity. This process of awakening through the body is sacred. It requires grace, patience, and trust. Your nervous system is not betraying you. It's guiding you toward peace, toward clarity, toward a life that no longer drains you but nourishes you. If this message resonates with your journey, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and tap the notification bell so you never miss powerful insights like this. Your nervous system is evolving for your highest good. Comment below, "I am aligning with my new energetic self," to affirm your transformation and inspire others on the same path. 7. True awakening means wholeness, not superiority. Spiritual awakening is not about becoming superior to others. It's about becoming whole within yourself. The real journey begins when you stop trying to escape your pain and start embracing it as part of your story. Your spiritual path is not meant to make you feel above anyone else. That feeling of being more conscious, more aware, or more enlightened than others is not true wisdom. It's the trap of the spiritual ego. And the ego doesn't disappear just because you meditate or say affirmations. It simply puts on a new mask, often a holier one. Carl Jung said, Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. That means the parts of you that you've ignored, rejected, or tried to spiritually bypass the shame, the guilt, the inner child still grieving, these are not blocks to awakening. They are the doorway. The real transformation happens not when you rise above your humanity, but when you integrate it. You stop chasing the idea of perfection and start honoring your wounds as sacred. When you come into wholeness, your energy becomes stable. You no longer feel the need to prove anything. You are no longer triggered by people who don't get it, because you realize they're walking their own path, just like you once did. You don't need to control outcomes or convince anyone to change. Instead, your peace speaks for itself. You begin to attract people not through effort, but through presence, not through status, but through sincerity. You also begin to see that the roles you once played, the people pleaser, the overachiever, the fixer, were survival tactics, not your truth. The more you awaken, the less interested you become in playing those roles. You stop reacting from old wounds and start responding from clarity. Conversations that once excited you now feel empty. Environments that once felt like home now feel misaligned. And it's not because you're better than others. It's because you're no longer abandoning yourself to belong. This shift isn't loud. It doesn't look dramatic. It's subtle. You find yourself sitting in silence more. You feel less urgency to be understood. You're not running away from the world, but you're no longer ruled by it either. You become rooted in something deeper, your own essence. And from this grounded state, you emit a calm, loving, magnetic energy. Some will be drawn to it. Others will misunderstand it. But you no longer take it personally. You've stopped living to be received. You're living to be real. Wholeness is when your inner child, your present self, and your higher self are all sitting at the same table, finally seen, finally heard, finally loved. You are not fragmented. You are not pretending. You are simply being. And in that being, there is power. A quiet, unshakable power. Not because you have risen above the world, but because you have descended into the depths of your own soul and found peace even there. That is the essence of true spiritual awakening. To affirm your dedication to true awakening, declare your commitment to inner wholeness, not superiority. Comment below. I choose wholeness over ego. To honor your journey and inspire others to walk this path with humility, compassion, and truth. And maybe that's the part no one tells you, that awakening doesn't always feel like light and love at first. Sometimes it feels like distance, like silence, like pulling away from the noise so you can finally hear your own soul. But this shift isn't disconnection. It's realignment. You're not losing people. You're finding yourself. If this message spoke to something deep within you, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who may need it, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. Tap the notification bell so you never miss a moment of truth, healing, and awakening. Your journey is sacred, and we're honored to walk it with you. Carl Jung's synchronicity, meaningful patterns in life. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. Have you ever felt like certain events, people, or numbers keep showing up in your life for a reason? What if those so-called coincidences were actually messages from the universe, clues guiding you toward purpose and transformation? In today's video from Spiritual Wisdom, we dive deep into Carl Jung's profound concept of synchronicity, the idea that life is not random, but filled with meaningful patterns. These patterns can help you better understand yourself, align with your destiny, and live more intentionally. As you listen, reflect on your own life. What signs have you been ignoring? Be sure to comment below with your thoughts or personal experiences with synchronicity. Your story could inspire someone else's awakening. Let's begin this journey together. 1. Jung's awakening and inner vision, a childhood of mystery and premonition. Carl Jung was no stranger to the mysteries of the mind. As a child, he experienced powerful visions that left him unsettled and deeply curious. While other children played and lived in the comfort of the known world, Jung found himself haunted by strange inner images. Waves of blood crashing over cities, widespread destruction, and a deep sense of something ominous approaching. These visions were not fleeting nightmares. They returned with increasing intensity, disturbing him so much that he feared he might be going mad. Then war broke out. World War I erupted, and Jung suddenly realized what those terrifying visions had foretold. What he had seen was not delusion, it was premonition. For the first time, he understood that his inner experiences were not symptoms of mental illness, but signals from a deeper, universal realm of the psyche. He called it the collective unconscious, a vast, hidden reservoir of images, archetypes, and knowledge shared by all of humanity. These weren't personal dreams. They were messages from something much greater, something timeless and deeply interconnected. This realization transformed the course of his life. Jung began to explore the layers of the unconscious mind with the rigor of a scientist and the reverence of a mystic. He believed the human psyche was not just a personal container of thoughts and memories. It was a gateway to spiritual truth, symbolic language, and meaningful coincidences that could reshape our understanding of reality itself. One of Jung's most profound contributions to psychology was the concept of synchronicity, the idea that certain events are connected not by cause and effect, but by meaning. These are the moments when the inner world and outer world align in ways that seem too perfect to be random. A dream that predicts an event, a book that falls off the shelf with the exact answer you needed, a chance encounter that changes your life. Modern life gives us countless examples of this. Mia, a marketing manager in her early 30s, began seeing the numbers 1111 everywhere on her phone, digital clocks, receipts. At first, she dismissed it as coincidence, but soon after, she began having vivid dreams about painting, a passion she had abandoned as a teenager. The signs kept coming, and the inner urge grew stronger. She picked up a brush again. Within months, she was exhibiting her art. Eventually, she left her corporate job to become a full-time painter. The numbers, the dreams weren't random. They were synchronistic breadcrumbs leading her back to her purpose. Carl Jung saw synchronicities as moments of deep alignment between our soul's truth and the flow of life. They bypass logic and speak the language of the unconscious symbol, feeling, instinct. To Jung, these moments weren't mystical fluff. They were psychological facts with spiritual significance. He believed that when we pay attention to them, we begin to live more consciously, more meaningfully, and in greater harmony with who we really are. Our culture often teaches us to dismiss the unseen, to ignore dreams, deny gut feelings, and chalk up patterns to coincidence. But Jung's life reminds us that wisdom often comes in subtle forms, that visions, no matter how strange, may carry truth, that patterns repeating in our lives may not be meaningless. They may be messages we're meant to receive. The psyche is not just reacting to the world, it's in dialogue with it. And the more we listen, the more we realize that life isn't just happening to us. It's responding to us, mirroring us, guiding us. This is the heart of Carl Jung's legacy. Not to fear what is mysterious, but to walk toward it. To treat dreams, synchronicities, and symbols not as illusions, but as invitations. Because somewhere beneath the noise of daily life, a deeper current is always flowing. And if we dare to follow it, it may just lead us home to ourselves. Have you ever had a dream or vision that felt like more than just imagination, like a message from something deeper? If so, share your story in the comments below. Let's learn from each other's inner experiences. If not, but you're open to exploring your own unconscious, comment, "I'm ready to see within," so we can begin this journey into the hidden realms of the psyche together. 2. Collective unconscious and quantum connection. Carl Jung believed that human beings are deeply connected not only to each other, but to a shared, invisible layer of consciousness he called the collective unconscious. This vast field is not a product of personal experience alone. It is a storehouse of ancient memories, archetypes, and patterns that shape how we think, dream, and even experience the world around us. When you feel an unexplainable pull toward a symbol, a person, or a situation, it may be because that connection is being activated not from your conscious mind, but from something much deeper, something inherited, collective, and profoundly real. What makes Jung's theory so fascinating is how closely it mirrors discoveries in modern quantum physics. In particular, the observer effect, the idea that observing a quantum event can actually influence its outcome, suggests that consciousness isn't just a passive witness to reality, but an active participant. Jung saw this not as a coincidence, but as confirmation that our inner world and the outer universe are intertwined. Through what he called synchronicity, we begin to witness events in the outer world that mirror our inner states, events that seem random on the surface but carry profound, often spiritual significance. These synchronicities are not just charming oddities. They are energetic alignments between our inner reality and the unfolding universe. Imagine thinking of someone you haven't spoken to in years, only to receive a message from them that very day. Or feeling lost in life and suddenly encountering a book, a song, or a stranger's words that speak directly to your heart. These are not coincidences to be dismissed. According to Jung, they are evidence that we are living within a meaningful and intelligent system, one that speaks to us through symbols, patterns, and timing. This is where spiritual wisdom comes into play. The ability to perceive these moments not as random, but as invitations to awaken. There is a spiritual art to noticing. Synchronicities rarely arrive with fanfare. They are subtle, almost whisper-like. But once we begin to pay attention, the frequency of these meaningful patterns increases. It's as if life starts speaking a language we were always meant to understand. The more you trust it, the more it unfolds. It's not about superstition or magical thinking. It's about tuning in to an intelligence that works beneath the surface, often unnoticed by the rational mind. Take, for instance, a young man who feels unfulfilled at work but can't explain why. One day, while scrolling mindlessly online, he stumbles across a video that speaks directly to his inner frustration. That same week, a stranger at a cafe begins talking about making bold career changes. Then, his childhood friend calls to ask if he wants to collaborate on a passion project they once dreamed about. Each event might seem isolated, but together, they form a coherent pattern that reflects his shifting internal energy. The outer world begins to mirror the truth he has not yet fully acknowledged. Jung's insight was that these patterns are not random. They are meaningful coincidences, guided by an invisible thread connecting the personal psyche to the collective unconscious. And quantum theory offers a bridge that makes these experiences more than just metaphors. The reality we live in may be far more interactive than we've ever imagined. When we observe, we influence. When we feel deeply, we shift outcomes. Our awareness is not separate from the world, it is shaping it. To walk with this understanding is to walk with reverence. It's to recognize that your emotions, your thoughts, your quiet longings, they matter. They don't just echo in your mind. They ripple through a field of energy that responds with alignment. Spiritual wisdom teaches us that when we live from this space of presence and awareness, life doesn't just happen to us, it responds to us. That response often comes in the form of synchronicities, waiting for us to notice and follow their trail. Through the lens of Jung and quantum connection, we begin to see that the universe is not silent. It's alive, intelligent, and deeply invested in our growth. Synchronicities are not interruptions in the flow. They are the flow revealing itself. If you believe that your mind is more than just a receiver and that your thoughts can shape the world around you, comment below. I align with the collective field. Let's explore the mystery of synchronicity and the quantum mind together. 3. Real-life synchronicities. From personal events to supernatural phenomena. Carl Jung's life was filled with events that defied ordinary explanation. Moments so precise and uncanny, they could not be brushed aside as mere coincidence. In his work, he named this phenomenon synchronicity, a concept that reveals how meaningful coincidences, though lacking a clear cause and effect link, carry deep psychological and spiritual significance. One of the most startling examples came when Jung was working with a patient whose rigid rationalism resisted emotional healing. She shared a dream about a golden scarab, a symbol of rebirth. At that precise moment, a beetle resembling a scarab began tapping at the window. Jung caught it and handed it to her, breaking the walls of her skepticism. To him, this was no accident. It was a breakthrough orchestrated by a deeper intelligence, one that mirrors our inner world through the external. These events weren't isolated. Jung described many personal experiences that defied scientific logic, like the loud crack that split a wooden table in his home with no physical cause, or a bread knife that shattered into pieces without being touched. These weren't metaphors. They were actual physical manifestations tied to moments of intense emotion and psychic tension. Jung believed these incidents were the psyche's language ways the unconscious spoke through matter, bending what we perceive as solid reality to reveal something invisible. They emerged not from delusion, but from a deeper order in the universe that becomes more visible during periods of spiritual awakening. As one becomes more attuned to the symbolic nature of life, these disruptions serve as invitations, signals to pay attention, to align, to awaken. This mystical view put him at odds with Freud, who dismissed such phenomena as fantasy. Freud, ever the materialist, saw the unconscious as a vault of repressed desires and trauma. Jung, on the other hand, viewed it as sacred, an entry point to the collective unconscious. a realm where symbols, archetypes, and shared human experiences converge. Their philosophical split reflected more than differing theories. It revealed two fundamentally different ways of seeing reality. Jung stood alone in his conviction that the soul speaks in symbols, and that the world, when mirrored correctly, responds to the psyche in astonishing ways. And yet, you've likely felt this too, moments when reality bent slightly to meet your thoughts. You think of someone, and they text. You're lost, and the exact phrase you needed appears in a song, a book, a stranger's words. These are not accidents. They are moments of alignment. Synchronicity reveals that your inner world and outer world are not separate. They are dancing together, especially during times of transition, emotional upheaval, or spiritual awakening. When you start to notice these patterns, you begin to realize that life itself is not random. It's responsive. It listens. It reflects. Jung believed that synchronicities increase during psychological crises or transformation because the psyche is trying to compensate, to help you reorient. The invisible world speaks loudest when you are closest to truth. This is why many people undergoing a spiritual awakening experience a flood of signs, strange timings, and intuitive knowledge. The deeper you go into your own unconscious, the more the world around you begins to shimmer with messages. And this isn't about superstition. It's about understanding reality as symbolic and intelligent, structured in a way that supports your evolution. Einstein once said, "Coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous." Jung took this seriously. For him, synchronicity was not only real, but sacred evidence that we live in a meaningful, connected universe where your journey is seen and mirrored back to you. The challenge is not whether these signs exist, but whether you are willing to notice, to listen, and to act. Because often, the sign you're waiting for isn't a thunderbolt. It's already here, tapping softly at your window. If Jung's real-life synchronicities sparked something in you, don't hesitate to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever experienced something that defied logic? Let's explore these invisible forces together. Your story might inspire someone else. 4. Eastern influence, mandalas, and alchemy. Carl Jung's encounter with the secret of the golden flower, a Taoist text rich in Eastern spiritual insight, marked a turning point in his psychological exploration. To Jung, this wasn't merely ancient philosophy, it was a map of inner transformation. The book revealed a deep understanding of the psyche's journey toward balance, something Western psychology had only begun to grasp. What captured Jung's attention most was the mandala, a sacred symbol found throughout Eastern spiritual traditions. He didn't just admire its beauty. He saw it as the mind's attempt to restore inner order through imagery. In the mandala's symmetry, Jung found the self, a totality that includes both the conscious and unconscious mind. He believed that when people were psychologically fragmented or overwhelmed, the mandala emerged spontaneously, either in dreams or drawings, as a tool for integration. These circular patterns, often filled with repeating shapes and radiating energy, were more than art. They were healing structures. They allowed the psyche to visually represent what words could not, a state of centeredness, unity, and balance. Jung understood this as a symbol of the individuation process, the path toward becoming whole. And he didn't just theorize about it. He asked his patients to draw mandalas during their deepest moments of crisis, because through that act, a deeper intelligence within them could reveal itself. Carl Jung's spiritual wisdom also led him to rediscover alchemy, but not in the literal sense of turning base metals into gold. What fascinated him was the metaphor hidden in the ancient language of alchemists. They described a process of burning, dissolving, separating, purifying, and finally, reuniting, all of which mirrored the stages of human psychological growth. Jung saw alchemy as the bridge between science, psychology, and spirituality. It provided a symbolic system for transformation, one where suffering, confusion, and emotional chaos weren't obstacles to avoid, but stages in the sacred process of becoming. He realized that the alchemist's furnace was no different from the emotional heat people feel during breakdowns, heartaches, and life changes. In modern life, we go through these transformations all the time, though we may not have the language to describe them. A painful breakup, the loss of a job, a spiritual crisis. These are moments when the ego cracks and something deeper tries to emerge. Often, we resist, distract, or shut down. But if we allow ourselves to face the discomfort, a new self begins to form, wiser, softer, and more whole. Jung believed that within every collapse was the seed of new integration. Just as the alchemist believed gold could emerge from what appeared worthless, he taught that our emotions, when honored and understood, are the flames that refine us. The Mandala and alchemy both taught Jung one central truth: that the path to wholeness isn't linear. It's symbolic, mysterious, and deeply personal. The symbols that arise in our dreams, the repeated patterns we notice in life, the images we're drawn to in moments of stillness, they are not random. They are messages from the unconscious, guiding us back to our essence. Jung's genius was in trusting that what ancient wisdom had long known could still apply to the modern soul. He didn't separate science from spirit or logic from intuition. He knew the soul speaks in symbols, and to become whole, we must learn to listen. So when the chaos of life overwhelms you, when clarity seems far away, remember that transformation doesn't come through avoidance, it comes through alchemy. And when you feel scattered or broken, take a blank page and draw a circle. Let that shape center you, speak to you, remind you that even in disorder, the self is seeking harmony. This is not just Carl Jung's insight. It is an invitation to recognize the spiritual intelligence already moving within you. If Jung's journey through Eastern wisdom, mandalas, and alchemy resonates with you, take a deep breath and repeat after me. I am aligning with inner balance and divine transformation. This message has found me at the right time. 5. Synchronicity and the unus mundus, the one unified reality. Carl Jung's concept of synchronicity reveals that life is not governed solely by logic or cause and effect, but by a deeper, invisible order. He believed that the inner world of thoughts, dreams, and emotions is intimately connected to the outer world of events, even when no clear causal link exists. This idea is rooted in the ancient notion of the unus mundus, a single, unified reality from which both the psyche and the physical universe emerge. In this realm, time and space lose their grip, and meaning takes the lead. This is where synchronicity lives, in the subtle, poetic conversation between your soul and the unfolding of life. Jung saw synchronicity as more than just coincidence. It's the manifestation of a hidden pattern that connects your inner experiences with the outer world. Just like the alchemical saying, "As above, so below," synchronicities reflect a deeper order in which everything mirrors everything else. It's a moment when your soul's whisper is echoed by the world around you. These events often arrive when you're at a crossroads, seeking clarity, or navigating uncertainty. Rather than pushing for answers, you become receptive, and that openness aligns you with something greater. The ancient Taoist symbol of yin and yang beautifully expresses this principle. Two seemingly opposite forces in perfect balance, complementing each other, not contradicting. Jung recognized that the same balance exists between your conscious thoughts and unconscious wisdom, between the visible and the invisible, between reason and intuition. When you experience synchronicity, it's often because both sides are finally aligned, and something previously hidden can now rise into awareness. These moments don't follow logic, they follow meaning. Think about the times when you were deeply pondering a personal decision and life began to echo your thoughts in the most unexpected ways. You think of someone and they call. You dream of water, and the next day, it rains just as a major emotional breakthrough arrives. These are not accidents. These are messages, mirrors, confirmations that your inner state is resonating with a larger cosmic rhythm. This is not fantasy. It is a lived expression of spiritual wisdom, showing you that you are never as separate or alone as you think. Jung believed that when you begin to notice these meaningful coincidences, your awareness sharpens, your intuition strengthens, and your relationship with life shifts. You start living in a more symbolic world, where events don't just happen, they speak. You begin to trust the unfolding of things, even when it doesn't make sense. And in doing so, you unlock a deeper harmony between your soul and the greater whole. Life stops feeling random. It begins to feel alive, intelligent, interconnected. You stop chasing signs and begin listening for the truth. This deeper truth doesn't arrive through control, but through surrender. Synchronicities don't come when you force them. They arise when you're present enough to see them. When the ego softens and the inner world becomes quiet, the language of the universe becomes clear. It's not loud. It's not obvious. It's sacred, subtle, and deeply personal. And once you recognize that everything your thoughts, emotions, symbols, and external events are all flowing from the same source, you begin to walk through life differently, more open, more connected, more awake. Don't forget to subscribe for more spiritual wisdom that reveals the hidden order behind life's coincidences. If you believe everything is connected and nothing is random, this is your place to explore the deeper meaning behind it all. 6. Archetypes and the power of the unconscious. Carl Jung believed that archetypes' universal psychic patterns exist at the very core of the human psyche. These are not just symbolic images stored in the mind. They are powerful, timeless forces that shape the very fabric of our experiences, influencing how we dream, how we love, and how we make meaning out of chaos. Archetypes, like the hero, the shadow, the mother, and the wise old man, do not belong to any one culture or individual. They are ancient, collective, and embedded in our unconscious, silently guiding our decisions and reactions without us even realizing it. According to Jung, these archetypes are psychoid, meaning they exist between the inner and outer worlds, between mind and matter, between thought and event. Because they do not follow the laws of time or space, archetypes can show up in ways that feel eerie or prophetic. This explains why someone might dream about a future event before it happens, or feel an instant soul-level connection with a stranger. These experiences are not mere chance. They are deeply meaningful patterns of what Jung called synchronicities that arise when inner reality meets outer circumstance with uncanny precision. They signal that your unconscious is not only alive, but also engaged in a dynamic relationship with your life. It speaks through symbols, emotions, and intuitive insights, redirecting your path in subtle yet powerful ways. The unconscious, in Jung's view, is not passive or dormant. It has agency. It watches, remembers, and intervenes. It holds within it the seeds of your future and the keys to your healing. You may think you're in control, but often it is the unconscious that chooses what you notice, who you're drawn to, or when a crisis must erupt for your transformation to begin. As Jung famously warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. This is the turning point of spiritual awakening, when you realize that what happens to you is not random, but reflective. Spiritual awakening occurs when you begin to notice the hidden order in your life. It's the recognition that your recurring struggles, emotional triggers, or even chance encounters are not accidents, but invitations from the unconscious. They are messengers of truth, guiding you toward wholeness. In this light, even pain becomes sacred because it's a signal, not a punishment. It is calling you to look deeper, to decode the symbols, and to engage with the archetypes shaping your reality from beneath the surface. In this sacred process, you stop reacting blindly and start responding with awareness. You begin to track your dreams, listen to inner nudges, and pay attention to what stirs your soul. This is how the unconscious reveals its power through synchronicity, through archetypal resonance, and through moments that feel charged with purpose. When you honor these moments instead of brushing them off, something profound shifts. Your life stops feeling random and starts to feel aligned. This alignment marks the birth of spiritual wisdom and the deepening of your spiritual awakening. If this message awakens something deep within you, drop a comment below. I trust the wisdom of my unconscious. I'm guided by the archetypes within me. 7. How to recognize and use synchronicities for growth. Carl Jung believed that synchronicities are not mere coincidences, but powerful reflections of a deeper order at work in the universe. These events are not just surprising moments of chance. They are messages from the unconscious, nudges from the divine, guiding us toward our growth. He emphasized that with enough self-awareness, we can actively engage with these moments and uncover the spiritual wisdom they carry. Jung categorized synchronicities into 5 key types, each one aligning with a hermetic principle, reminding us that everything in the universe is connected and meaningful. Warning synchronicities are those quiet, often unsettling signs that alert us to an approaching crisis or misstep. A strange feeling of hesitation, a repeated dream, a symbolic image that unsettles your spirit. These are not to be ignored. Rooted in the principle of vibration, they remind us that everything is energy, and that the body and spirit often detect what the conscious mind cannot. Just as animals sense earthquakes before they strike, your deeper self vibrates with early knowledge. These synchronicities act like inner sirens, guiding you away from harm before it manifests. Then come confirmation synchronicities, those moments that reassure you that you are walking in alignment. You may think about pursuing a passion, and suddenly, that exact subject shows up in a podcast, a billboard, or a casual conversation. These are governed by the principle of correspondence. As within, so without. The outer world reflects your inner alignment. These are not just random affirmations. They are spiritual echoes, showing you that your energy is resonating clearly with the flow of life. Trusting these signs can boost your courage and keep you grounded on your path. Prophetic synchronicities reveal symbolic truths before they manifest. These are moments of deep vision, recurring dreams, strong intuitive impressions, or even conversations that seem to foreshadow what's to come. Linked to the principle of mentalism, they reveal how reality is shaped by mind and consciousness. These synchronicities often speak through symbols of water signaling emotional purification, fire representing rebirth, or birds symbolizing freedom. When you begin to observe the repeated appearance of a symbol, don't dismiss it. Your unconscious may be preparing you for a transformation. Manifestation, synchronicities occur when your inner work begins to ripple outward into the world. These align with the principle of cause and effect. If you've been working on self-love and start attracting respectful, nurturing people into your life, that's no accident. If you've been visualizing financial stability and suddenly receive a new opportunity or unexpected support, that's synchronicity in action. The universe responds to the energy you consistently emit. These signs are not rewards, they are reflections. Opportunity synchronicities arrive at the perfect moment when your preparation aligns with divine timing. Governed by the principles of polarity, rhythm, and gender, they appear when all polarities are in balance, cycles converge, and something new is ready to be birthed. Think of the person who has practiced music in solitude for years, only to be offered a life-changing performance opportunity by chance. That chance isn't random. It's rhythm. It's timing. It's readiness. These synchronicities call you forward and ask you to step fully into your purpose. In a world full of distractions, synchronicities are quiet whispers of alignment. They don't scream, they invite. Jung's spiritual wisdom teaches that if you slow down and pay attention, life will start to feel less chaotic and more coherent. The events you once labeled as coincidence begin to reveal a pattern, a rhythm, a deeper logic. By listening closely and moving with awareness, you come into relationship with the hidden intelligence guiding your life. And so, every warning, every sign of confirmation, every prophetic dream, every sudden opportunity, each is a sacred signal. Recognize them, honor them. They are the bridge between your conscious self and the unseen world that knows you better than you know yourself. This is not just spiritual awakening. This is remembering. To affirm your alignment with the universe's guidance, declare your awareness. Comment below. I trust the synchronicities. To honor your path and encourage others to tune into the signs guiding their own spiritual growth. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the powerful insights of Carl Jung's concept of synchronicity. Life is always speaking to us through meaningful patterns, signs, symbols, and events that may seem like coincidence, but are often divine alignment. As you move forward, stay open to the hidden messages woven into your daily experiences. They might be guiding you toward a deeper truth. If this video spoke to your soul, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. And be sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss another transformative insight. Until next time, stay aware, stay aligned, and trust the wisdom within and around you.